First of all, that there is much that we can do to help you, and we once again want to apologize for your grandfather's recent passing. It's obviously a very difficult time for you, and we want to manage your assets that he gave you to the best of their potential. So first, I think it's very important to look at your options. Now, you have your friend who has offered to essentially let you buy into his company and invest in his company, which is a solar-powered company. And we think that is an excellent option. You need to consider all options, but however, there's also the option of wind power, and you have some land already set aside, and depending on that land's location will depend on which one you should seriously consider the most. So that is what we see as your overall options essentially, and we hope that you'll consider them, and we'll help you take a step-by-step analysis of that.
One of the first things that you might want to consider is whether you should join your friend's business or start your own based on your own personal characteristics as an entrepreneur. So I'm just going to go over the pros and cons first. As far as starting a business alone, you're going to have more profit because you're not splitting it with another person, but you're also going to have a lot more risk. You're going out in uncharted waters, and you don't necessarily have someone who has the understanding and the experience in the business field, since this is starting your own first new business. And you're also going to have a lot more work because you're not splitting it among a lot of people. When you first start a business, you're going to have to put in a lot of work. So when we're talking about joining a friend's business, you're going to have set up clients and a set up business structure that has already been proven to be somewhat successful. You're going to have someone to share the work with who has experience, who can teach you a lot of things. But you're also going to, especially with a friend, you're going to have a lot of relationship strains because business is a very stressful environment. And when you do that with your friend, those things are going to start showing up in your relationship status. So basically you're going to have split profits also, and you don't want to rush into a decision because you don't want to say, oh, my friend's doing this, so let's just do this really quick. You really want to think about it. So you should consider your own personal characteristics and how you feel as an entrepreneur. Do you want to take on that risk? Do you feel comfortable? Do you have enough knowledge or experience in the area? And those are things you're going to want to consider when you're deciding whether or not to start a business alone or join a friend's business.
So let's go over your options real quick. As I previously said, your basic options right now are between solar power and wind power. So here are the pros and cons essentially overall to these two options. Now first of all, with wind, if your land is in the Midwest, you should seriously consider wind power because that is essentially the wind power capital of the United States. It's just a perfect location for that, and since you already have land set up, it's just a very good idea to, grow stuff from that previous investment. Also, there is no pollution whatsoever, so this is a completely go green, essentially, way to gain energy. And also, it says that statistics show that it will generate 17 to 39 times more power than what you will use on those actual windmills, which if you translate that into terms of profits, that is monumental, absolutely phenomenal. So that is absolutely key. And the second option essentially is the solar power, which if your land is in the southwest of the country, you should seriously consider that and seriously consider maybe stepping in with your friend and utilizing your grandfather's land and maybe using it for your friend's company. It would only take 0.03 or 0.3% of the entire world's land to power all electricity. Now, we do want to point out that even though this percentage sounds very small, in actual terms of the planet, that amount of land is a rather sizable amount. That would accumulate to several states most likely. So it is small in terms of the entire world, but nonetheless there is still a lot of land involved. So our overall suggestion is most likely at this point in time wind power, due to the fact that essentially it seems to be highly profitable and there's just a lot of opportunities in this country for wind power right now.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about what you're going to do after you've made this investment, your next steps, and how you're going to make a profit off of this. So as my partner already said, with the wind power, there's at least a 17-fold return from going into wind power if you're in the Midwest, and that's a huge, huge profit margin. And so that's definitely our recommendation, but I'm going to go through options for both plans. If you were to go with wind, then your very first option would be to go and actually either build upon the land or to purchase more land in order to expand that farm, depending on how much was left to you by your grandfather. So that would be the first step, would be to buy land. The second step would be to buy and actually install and build the equipment that's necessary to harvest wind energy. Which when compared to solar energy, that's a much smaller space per energy put out. So you could actually put more wind turbines than you could put solar powers, and that's once again more more wind, more profit. And then our third option, you do this with either way, would be to partner with a flagship university, a big state university such as the University of Missouri, University of Kansas, in order to really bring in some youth, some interns that would not only provide you with cheap labor because they're an internship, but also because it would help develop interest for more energy technology. Energy is one of the biggest fields in the United States in colleges right now, and so you should definitely make use of that. Now, if you were to go and invest in your partner's, in your friend's company, then your money would be to go towards basically expanding that, buying more solar powers and building on what he already has. As we mentioned earlier, that does have a clientele already set up, and so that is definitely one plus. But also, we believe that it's outweighed by the positives of wind energy. It's just simply not as much return. Although neither of them are entirely constant, wind energy will wind will blow significantly more than you would get solar. Solar, you only get half a day, wind you can get day and night. And so it's for these reasons that we think that you should go with this simple 3-step process.
Okay. So in summary, you should consider your personal characteristics. Do you feel like you can take on the extra risk of starting the profit alone or joining your friends? Do you feel like your relationship can handle it? You should consider what land you have, where you are, in terms of which energy is going to be best. And you could consider maybe a partnership at a university. You could get internship, you can give back to the community. There are a lot of things that could benefit your business and the community that you're working in. If you were to partner with a university, help young kids learn about energy and help our future as a nation as far as like building people into the green energy technology, which is going to help our nation a lot. That's essentially our presentation. Do you guys have any questions?
Do you think there's other options that I haven't considered?
Absolutely. There is a wide variety of energy options, such as the hydraulic generators, which are underwater. But we believe that you shouldn't necessarily, at this point in time, very seriously consider that option due to the building costs and manual labor that it would take to initially start that up. Because, quite frankly, creating those generators underwater would not be cheap. And there are other options, but we believe that at this point in time, wind and solar is probably your best option.
So you think the wind is more promising than the solar?
One of the key things about the wind technology as far as the solar is that it costs less to create a wind turbine than it does the solar power, because there are a lot of rare materials that go into making solar panels, and basically with wind panels you just have to have a large metal structure that can spin in the wind, so you have some aerodynamic things, but as far as the cost of materials, it costs more to create solar panels than it does wind.
Not only do we think that it would cost less to actually produce it, but we also think that it will have a larger energy output, and that's, once again, your margin, your profit margin. And so we think that you would actually get significantly more for less by going with wind.
And just to add on real quick, just to paint you a quick picture, another statistic showed that it would take enough solar panels to cover all the roof space in Australia to power that nation. So essentially what we're saying is that it would take the entire nation, their roof space, to be covered by solar panel to be powered, while wind will most likely have a better energy output. Is that all?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Have a